right? So let's check um, how to be able to add some customized text or labels to our charts. So let me try and see if I can. Great. So I'm going to pull up my R Studio and then we look at how this is done. It's quite easy. So sometimes you can have a plot, but you want it to have some labels. You want to emphasize on a particular point within the chart. How do you add that specific description? That's what I want us to look at. So I have some few examples. This is the first example here. So I'm just creating two vectors. So the two vectors which are here, if I run them like this, if I plot it, so obviously I'm going to get just this particular scatter plot as you can see them here. So there are about 4 points over there. So what about if I want to emphasize on a specific point which is on number four here? So what I can simply do is to add a text, to use the text function and then emphasize on that particular point. So I can decide to call that particular point something, maybe a key point or main point or something like that. So I'm just going to say that's my main point. So what do? You use the text function and then the 3 here stand for the y coordinate, sorry, the x coordinate. So when you come here, I'm looking at 3 here, but I want it to be at 4. Okay, so let me put that place 4. So I'm just going to put there 4. So on the x axis, I'm looking at on the 4th place, and then on the y axis, I'm looking at the number 9 place. So I want it to be on top of the point which will be here. So 4 and 9 will meet at this particular point. So that's the coordinate. Around that particular place, put this particular description here called main point, and then give it the color blue, and then the sex should be 1.2. And then when I run that, you see that it's going to bring it exactly where I was talking about, but I didn't change this. So if I put it, if it were 9, so that would have been my main point. So if it were 9, that would have been, so let me brush this off. Let me brush the whole of this graph off, and then let me plot it all over again. Then we come here and then we run this line. So you see that the point there, we are now having main point, which is over there, emphasizing that particular point. Um, Now, that's the first example, which is quite easy. What about if we wanted to label all the points? We wanted to label all of them and then give them different names. Okay, so we can actually create all the names and then we can decide to give them. So there are about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one of the easiest way to do that is to okay. So let me also brush this off, or I plot it all over again. So I can come here and then okay. So I brush this one off, and then let's plot that particular graph all over again. So there are about 5 points over there. So you want to label all the points. There are two ways of doing that. You can actually create a vector which is sitting down with the labels. Then you use that, or you can actually also use, you can incorporate the vector and then you are able to do it. So the first one, that's example 2, we've already created. So we want to label it. We've created a vector and we call those one points, which is A, B, C, D. And then so when we run that, so A, B, C, D, E, they are 5. So automatically, now when we now plot X and Y, which is already here, then this time around we remove the label, the name, so which is given at the title. Now we are saying that on the X and Y, we're just looking at the whole of X and then the whole of Y coordinate. Now label all of them, use the function or the argument label, and then take the vector we had already created, which is called point, and then label all the points which are there. Then we want them to be at the center. The center means that it's not on the right hand side, it's not on the left hand side, it's on the center of the point. And so the color should be green. So when we do that and then we run it, so you see that it's going to be, that's how it will label all of them A, B, C, D. Now, the other way we could have also done this would have been to come here, use the text function like this, and then And then inside the text function, we have our x and y. And then we can go ahead and then say that we already, so we can use this particular same what is the approach. And then on this one, we are creating our own labels. You see, we are creating our own labels and we want the labels to follow this. Or I could have just say use the argument uh, labels which is equal to. So I just create a vector this way. And then let's say I wanted the first person to be called big. Then the second person, if maybe they were people, the second person will be called bright. The third person will be called let's say dude. Then the fourth will be called everybody, let's say Amma. Then maybe the fifth person will be called let's say John. And then that's basically all that we wanted the labels to. If you don't add any argument to this, it is fine. But we can actually say where do we want it to be. So that's where we have the position. And then the post is going to tell us that we want it to either be on the right hand side, the left hand side. So if I want it to be on the right hand side, I will simply put 1. So if I put 1, it will be on the right hand side. And then what color do I want it this time around? So I will say, sorry, my color. I would say that my color, I want it to be, let's say, cyan. Sorry. All right. And so that is it. So if I plot this all over again, so I want to run this all over again, and then I'm simply going to come here and then plot. So here you notice that there's nothing there. So I'm going to jump line 8 and then line 8 2. That's the one we just did. And then we try and see if we can plot. So you can see that the names are there just by the point, just like the way we described it to be. And so this is how we are able to make sure that we label the points based on what we want. Now let's look at example 3 quickly. So here we're just creating some kind of wavy something. So we're saying that from 0 to 2 times pi is just length about 100. So if we run that, and then if we print x, so we're actually going to have a whole lot of a bunch of something. So we use a mathematical equation, that's the sine of x, to create y. So now when we plot x and y, when we give when we indicate L, it means we want a line. So you indicate, you know what that means. So we have this. But what about if we had indicated O? Maybe we would have been looking for line and point. And so this is what we want. So I leave it this way. But we want to add some levels to it. Maybe I want this particular curve was some kind of economics or something. It was let's say economics, the economic graph, and we wanted to look at when the economy reached the boom and where it reached the lowest. So I'm saying, so here we can actually label the path. So depending on where we want the label to be, here we can say that the the x-axis is made of the pi, and then the y is made of just 1. The highest number is just 1 over there. So we are saying that on the y-axis, divide pi by 2, and then check on the y-axis where you can find 1. Wherever these two coordinates meet, put this particular mathematical expression over there. It's nothing, and put it in the color purple, and then the size should be this, and then that's about it. So when we do that, we simply label the point the way we want, and then we are good to go. So we do that, and then I was expecting to, oh, sorry, I only ran the what I highlighted. So you can see the mathematical equation, so sine 0 is going to give us around here. But maybe that was not what we wanted. We wanted to put that place as boom. On top there, we wanted to put the boom. So I am saying that locate on the x-axis where you find 2. Okay, so in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it, and I'm saying that locate wherever you find 5. So on the x-axis, we look for 5, and then I'm going to put there 5, and then on the y-axis, then we look for where we can also find, let's say, 0. No, minus 0.5. So let's say minus 0.3. So, and this, I'm going to change this place to minus 0.3, and then put that place, what I mean, let's say Islam. Put that place Islam, give it the color blue, and then this particular size. So when we do that, it's going to give us, you see that it gives us the level just like the way we wanted it to be, and then that is what we have over there. So you can actually use the coordinates to, to label your entire graph where you want the specific text to actually be. Now let's look at the very last example, and then we'll look at how to be able to. So here we just created some vectors. Some a vector of 5. So when we have some labels, which we have them here, I'm not going to use the labels this time around. So I'm just going to create what is a bar plot, and then so I've created a bar plot here. So as you can see, these are the bar plot. Now I want this bar plot to have some labels. So here you see that we have only the y, and then we don't have the x-axis. Automatically the x-axis will be noticed. Now if you pick any value, 1, any value from the y-axis, it is assuming that you are picking this particular first bar. If you pick the second value, it is assumed that you are picking the second bar in that order. That's how it's going to do the label. So when you are labeling something like a bar graph, and then that doesn't have, bar graph, the x is always non-numeric. So what you normally do is you just pick the first y-axis. So that is what it will simply locate the first bar for you. So when I pick 28, I'm saying that on the first bar, check where the y coordinate has 28, and then put it on the first bar. And so on the first bar, I'm saying put it low. On the second bar, that will be around 42. So 42 should be around here, and then put that place this. So that's why I created a vector of how I want it to be. Then the second one, I created another vector of the labels, the text itself. I give them the color, this, and then I said the adjustment to be 0.5. So when I finish everything and then I run that, so you see that it's going to label all of them. It's going to give all of them the label that I wanted, depending on the coordinate that I have given. So basically, this is how we customize, or we customarily, label our text to our chart to make it look beautiful. So here, if I try to zoom it out, you can look at how the whole thing looks like. It looks so quite beautiful. Trying to zoom it out, but I don't know why I wanted to zoom it out, but it's not zooming. So the color is not too, the green, and then maybe I should have made it a different color. Okay, now that the zoom is coming, I think my arrow is quite slow. So it's how you can see how the labels are. So we had low, higher. So the low correspond to the 28 here, then the 42 would have been here, and then in that order. So you can label any graph at all with the specific text that you wanted. So you see, like here, I don't know. So this is a graph that we just have. And so we could also label this particular graph. You just have to locate your x and y coordinate, and then you are able to make sure that you pick wherever the coordinates meet, put the text over there. And that's how we use the text function to be able to customize, or to customarily, label our our graphs. I've shown you if you have the two coordinates, x and y. If you don't have x and you have only y, use the y, and then in that case you are good to go. An instance where you will not have x and y is when you are doing bar graph, histogram. If it is histogram, you will have a range, so you choose the range. So this is the first part of the video. I'll do the second part for you to see how how to be able to do the labels at once. You can do multiple, you can what to do all kinds of things within the labels. So thank you. If you enjoyed my video, subscribe to my YouTube channel and learn more. Bye bye.